Yeah, they're like, it's sunny today. Oh, and you got fat. It's like, what?
I've definitely seen that happen. I'm a sensitive American that I
Yeah.
will not be able to handle that.
So I'm here with Kyla. I met Kyla through Instagram because I saw her on Zoe Ariel's YouTube channel and I found out she's from Nebraska living in France, and I grew up in Nebraska, so I reached out and now we decided to do this fun video together. But what brought you to France? I guess share a little bit about that to start off.
Ever since I was 4 years old, I kid you not, I've been obsessed with France and I've always wanted to learn the French language. So in university, I studied French language as one of my majors and decided to study abroad my last semester of university. And then I liked it so much, I took a position teaching this past year, south of Paris. And then I have just decided to stay and I will be pursuing my master's here in the fall.
And how long have you been in France for?
I have been here a year and a half. I live in the Loire River Valley. That's where Nantes is. I'll be moving to Paris at the end of this year. But yeah, that being said, I'm in Nantes right now and it's beautiful.
Okay, so let's see here. My idea was to talk about the difference between Italy and France as far as being Americans living in Europe. And so I'm just gonna ask you some questions about some different categories, and then you can give me your answers, and then I'll let you know what similarities there are between Italy and France and kind of what my experience has been, and we can just sort of, yeah.
That sounds great. I've been to Italy a few times, but I've noticed a lot of similarities, but as expats, I'm sure we have more similarities, so it'll be fun to chat about for sure.
And we both grew up in Nebraska, so
Yeah, right.
we
So
just,
we have like a very similar upbringing, like very Midwest, and then now we're in Europe. So yeah, it's it was so fun to cross paths. Very cool.
yes. Okay, so let's start off by talking about cultural differences. My first question is, what is the biggest cultural difference you've noticed between France and America?
The biggest cultural difference I've noticed is probably like the attitude of French people versus Americans. So French people are very honest, cut and dry, like tell it as it is. And Americans, I feel like, especially in the Midwest, aren't like that. Like we're very like fluffy. Like we talk with a lot of fluff. We are really friendly and we like sugarcoat a lot of things, which can be good. Like I love having small talk with my grocery store clerk, but that won't happen. You will not see that happening in France. It's I wouldn't say it's closed off and I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it's just it takes French people a lot longer to accept you and to get to know you. Versus Americans. Like Americans, I would say, especially in the Midwest, it's very like surface level. Everyone's really friendly, but you don't know if they're actually there for you or not. Whereas in France, like it takes a really long time to be close with a French person, but then once you are, they will do anything for you.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing in Italy, and as soon as you get close to people, it's really hard to break your bond. It's like you're friends for a very long time and the bond is very strong, but it is super hard to get close to people and to make them feel safe enough to open up to you and want to be in your life all the time. Whereas in America, if I meet a girl and get along with her, we're like best friends instantly. So
Yeah, that's definitely true, but sometimes I feel like American friendships like seem a little bit less long lasting because of that. Because like here you have to take your time to get to know people, and but I mean there's pros and cons to both. There really is.
yeah, definitely. What was the hardest adjustment for you in the French culture?
The hardest adjustment for me, well, besides being away from my family, honestly, the personality differences, like we were talking about, between French people and American people, because I grew up, and I don't know if personality, but like cultural differences, which kind of shows itself as personality differences, like because growing up in the Midwest, like everyone is so friendly all the time, and it's just like so easy to like, I don't know, feel welcome somewhere. And in France, it wasn't at all like that. So I think that has definitely been one of the most difficult things for me.
Yeah, that's very similar once again to Italy. Coming from the Midwest especially, I think we notice that difference because we are like the friendly people and the open books and just, you know, yeah, it's very different, especially coming from that part of the US. So is there anything in the French culture you still haven't gotten used to?
The honesty, I think, like, this sounds weird, but French people are so blunt and so honest that, like, sometimes I'll get my feelings hurt really easily because someone will say something to me that's like brutally honest or just like really blunt. I'm just not used to that at all. Like, I'm used to everyone like sugarcoating everything and like saying it in a way that won't hurt anybody else's feelings. Whereas in France, yeah, it's not like that. Like, it's definitely not like that.
That's so funny because everything you're saying, I'm just like, yep, that's Italy. So right. It's so interesting how similar they are. I've had some experiences in Italy with people being really blunt, and I guess one of the things that I was most offended by that happened one time is I came back from a few months of vacation since I travel in the winters, and I came back and some Italians, some people I considered close friends were like, wow, you got fat. And I was aware that I gained some weight, but I just did not expect that. Like,
I've heard that in France too, like people saying that to other people, like without having any emotion behind it. Like, it's not like supposed to be insulting.
Yeah, they're like, it's sunny today. Oh, and you got fat. It's like, what?
I've definitely seen that happen, and I'm just like hoping that people know that I'm a sensitive American, that I will not be able to handle that. But I've seen that happen for sure. It's the same. French people are similar in that regard as well.
What's one of the most blunt, kind of offensive things you've heard from a French person?
Well, my boyfriend is French, so I definitely, that's one of our biggest like arguments, is him saying something that's just like too honest and me not being able to like understand that it's not coming from like a hurtful place, that it's just like what he thinks point blank. But also, I mean, it is a good thing too, because I feel like in France, I think people are a lot more honest with their intentions, whereas in the US, like, I don't see that, especially with dating. Like, when you're seeing a French person, they'll pretty much always let you know what they want. In the US, it's just, I've not experienced that as well.
So, okay, I guess we'll move on to food. What are the biggest differences in meals in France versus America? Like your typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner, portion sizes.
I love this question because I feel like one of the biggest differences between French culture and American culture, besides the people, is the food. Because the meals are completely different here. Like, you're not gonna have your standard American breakfast at all in France. You have some baguette and coffee, or maybe a croissant, but you're not gonna have like, you know, bacon, eggs, anything like that. You might have like a small like pastry or some fruit and some coffee or tea, or maybe like a small serving of oatmeal. But yeah, the servings for breakfast especially are a lot smaller. But breakfast is all the meals are different, but breakfast is a lot different. And then lunch is my favorite meal in France because it is so long. We take an hour to 2 hours at least for lunch, and you have like a 4-course, 3-course meal for lunch. Especially on the weekends, we take our sweet time with lunch. But even during like the school week and the work week, you have a really long lunch break. Schools and teachers still have an hour and a half at least for lunch every single day. For me, I typically eat like a bigger lunch here and then smaller dinners, but it really depends on the day or what's going on. Like, holiday dinners are huge. They're like multiple courses, like I was explaining. But yeah, dinners are also big affairs. Same kind of format as lunch. And you always have, 3 to 4 servings, bread on the side, salad, vegetables. Like, it's great. I love the meals here, and they're always spent with the family. Like, you always have like a big gathering, and so that's really fun.
I'd say it's like the opposite for Italy. Like, dinner's kind of the big thing, and then lunch is something lighter, and we do like the full multiple courses at dinner. We start with the antipasto, And then we have the first course, which is pasta or rice. And then the second course, which is meat or fish. And then contorni, which are like the side dishes. And then the dolce, which is dessert. And then we have the coffee after dinner, which is something I'll never get used to because I just can't drink coffee at night. But Italians will drink their espresso, even if it's like midnight or 11 o'clock, whatever time they finish dinner. And they apparently don't get affected by the caffeine. Do French people snack a lot?
I would say no. Like during the week, if we're having smaller meals, I'll snack, like we'll snack, but I would say typically like you have your big meals and then you might snack a little bit if you're hungry, but typically you wait until dinner. And then something that I forgot to mention is like we have really big apéro, which is like before dinner. It's all the appetizers, so it's like the drinks and like the olives, the crackers, the bread, like all like the little things you snack on, like the sausages too, like all the meat stuff. It's all before dinner, and you like gather around usually different table and like have your apéro, but it's like right before the meal. I wouldn't say we have a lot of snacking.
Yeah, we have the aperitivo, which is before dinner, and that's kind of similar, I mean, but not anything like, I mean, we don't have a whole spread. It's just some olives and nuts and then a drink. So let's do language now. So are you fluent in French?
I would say yes, I'm fluent in French.
Can you say something in French?
Oh, you want
like,
me to
speak a little French? Yeah.
Bien sûr, je peux parler le français, mais c'est un peu bizarre pour moi de parler avec une autre américaine. Mais j'ai appris le français maintenant depuis 2010 ou quelque chose comme ça. Du coup, je parle carrément français, mais c'est un peu difficile quand même.
Cool.
I was explaining.
Were you explaining how you learned French?
Yeah, I was explaining, kind of like that it's weird to speak French with another American, but I've been learning French for about like 10 years now, like since school. I forgot what else I said, but yeah, that's what I said. So I speak fluently in French, but I didn't start speaking fluently until I got to France. But you speak Italian too, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm fluent. That was my major in college.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got so fluent, and living here and getting in those situations where you're forced to just speak it, especially, and that's when you really learn the fastest.
That's totally true. I feel the same.
How do French people respond when you speak French to them? Can they tell you're not a native speaker? Do they ever reply in English?
Okay, so they can absolutely always tell I'm not a native speaker. And I used to be really offended by that, but I've come to terms with it. Also, my name is American, and there's no way I can make it sound French. So just as soon as I introduce myself, it's clear that I'm American, and I've accepted it. But it depends. Now they don't speak English to me as much because my accent has gotten a lot better. I'm really confident in my speaking ability, so they usually don't speak in English back. Although if you go to Paris, like big cities like that, big touristy areas, they will. Like if they hear you're foreign, they'll speak to you in English. Sometimes when that happens, I'll just continue in French if I really want to speak French. But now, again, I have like a more relaxed attitude, so I'm just like, okay, I'll speak whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm ever with any other Americans or foreign speakers who French isn't our first language, if we're together, then they'll definitely speak to me in English. And France too, they have like a worse attitude towards tourists. But when I speak French to French people, especially who work in like the tourist industry and everything, they're always like really, really pleasantly surprised. And I feel like I automatically gain like a lot of respect just by speaking French.
So especially because I feel like Americans just normally don't speak a second language.
Exactly. They don't want to like try to learn another language. So that's why a lot of people have bad attitudes towards Americans who travel. So that's why when we're living in these countries and we're trying to speak, they have more respect automatically.
Yeah, I think that since we do have the privilege of having English as our first language in America, we have this sort of I don't know, laziness of not feeling like we need to learn any other languages because we're able to get by with our English. But I wish it was more encouraged to speak multiple languages, because just speaking Italian, I've gained so many new relationships and experiences, and it's not even about whether or not I can use my English. It's about completely experiencing a different culture because you can communicate with people in their language.
I agree. I think it's a lot harder to fully understand a culture unless you speak the language.
For sure. Okay, what is your favorite word to say in French?
Oh, this is a good question. I think améliorer, which means to improve. I love that word. What about you in Italian?
Mine's not so pretty, it's just funny, and it's bo, which means like, I don't know, but it's like slang, like, I don't know. And so when you're talking to someone, if you just don't like care, or you don't know, you're just like, bo. So it's a fun word. So let's talk lifestyle now. What is your favorite and least favorite thing about the French lifestyle?
So I think I like the French lifestyle more than the American lifestyle. And I'll explain why. Because I think the French do a lot better at balancing work and life in general. They have a much better work-life balance because they really, really care about rest and their health and like taking time for themselves. Whereas in the United States, I know we've talked about this a little bit, it's much more go, go, go. And then I also think that while French people, like there's the stereotype is they drink a lot and they smoke a lot, which is like true to an extent. The lifestyle is healthier because we walk a lot more here. We have healthier foods in general. Like, I just think a lot of the things in their lifestyle here is a lot healthier than in the United States. So I really do love the French lifestyle for that.
As far as comparing that to Italy, I would say that the Italian lifestyle is also very healthy. We walk everywhere. We eat seasonal foods, and same thing, a lot of Italians smoke. And they enjoy drinking, but even their alcohol, like their wine, is made from their own vineyards, and everything is just from the source, and they're very in touch with, the seasons and sort of the natural rhythm of life. And that's a big part of why I love the Italian lifestyle as well.
That's like a beautiful way to express it, for sure. Like, I agree with that completely. And also I feel like as far as drinking goes, like, we do drink a lot here, but it's not like the excessive quantity you'll see in the United States. Like, there's no binge drinking here at all. So like, people do drink and enjoy like nice wine, yes, but we don't binge drink or go to the bar and like get super crazy every night.
Right, or go take like 21 shots on your 21st birthday.
Oh, no, you would never see that here. So that's like a big difference too. It's like a lot more balanced.
So yeah, you've already answered the question that you prefer the French lifestyle.
Oh yeah. And you, what do you prefer?
I prefer the Italian for sure. It's much more simple and slow paced, and even just little things like hanging my laundry on the line and growing food in my garden, picking lemons off my trees. Those are things beautiful. I love here. Okay, so the very last question. How has living in France helped you grow as a person?
Honestly, in every single way imaginable. Like, I could talk about this question alone for hours, but I think the biggest thing is it has pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it allows me to grow. It has allowed me to grow, and it still pushes me to grow, because I feel like in the Midwest and in the United States, we tend to kind of close ourselves off. And this isn't true for everyone, definitely not. But like, for me, I really wanted to push myself to go somewhere that was out of my comfort zone and new, and travel and experience life really fully. And that's what France has been for me. By studying abroad, I got to do that, and then I liked doing that so much, I continued to do that, and I continue to try and do that for sure. I think pushing myself out of my little comfortable Nebraska box has been really, really beneficial for me, because I've learned so much about myself and about the world.
I agree that moving to Italy did the same for me, and I grew in every aspect of my life, and part of why I moved here was to get out of that comfort zone and just expand as a person. And it's really when you're put into like contrast, I guess, that you expand the most, because the contrast kind of forces you to look at things differently and your perspective changes and you grow in ways you otherwise wouldn't, which is also just why I love traveling in general. I feel like every place I travel to, I expand in a new way. So definitely
Absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kyla. If people want to find you on YouTube, you're Kyla Miller. And I'll link everything below. And then on Instagram, you're Kyla Lives Well.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that will all be in the description box. But I will see everyone next time. And I'll see Kyla in her video, which we're about to film. So make sure to check that out on her channel. I'll link that as well. All right, ciao for now, guys.